If we just go back 10 years, back in 1975 in the liner notes to Metal Machine Music, and I'll quote this, you said that you hope the intelligence that once inhabited novels and films would ingest rock. Now on the new album, New Sensations, there's a song called Doing the Things That We Want To, where you say that there's not much to hear on the radio today, but you can still see a movie or a play. Does that mean that your hopes haven't been fulfilled?
That my personal hopes haven't been fulfilled? Oh, I don't know. It's a long ball game. You never know what's going to happen. I've been interested more or less with what would happen if a Raymond Chandler wrote a rock and roll song. It's just, it's my own private ambitions I'm concerned with. I'm not interested in wish fulfillment in other areas for other people. It's just my own personal ambition. So when you ask a question like that, it's the real question is, do I think it's worked for me? Sure. And the answer to that is yes.
Only came from mine FLA. He tried to way across the USA. Plucked her eyebrows along the way, shaved her legs, and then he was a she that said, hey, babe, take a walk on the wild side. I said, hey, girl, take a walk on the wild side.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Dumpster Dive episode. Today I'm going to be talking about Lou Reed. Now there's absolutely no question that Lou Reed was a cultural icon. He was in the Velvet Underground, one of the coolest bands of the 1960s. He was rubbing elbows with Andy Warhol, recorded some brilliant music with David Bowie in the 1970s. Yeah, he took a lot of drugs to be sure, but there's no questioning that Lou Reed was an artist. He was a singer-songwriter extraordinaire, but he also is responsible for recording one of the worst fucking albums ever released, Metal Machine Music. Now, Metal Machine Music was Lou Reed's fifth solo album. He had been in the Velvet Underground. They recorded a number of albums together, a number of very influential albums in the 1960s. The Velvet Underground imploded in the early 1970-1971. Lou Reed struck out on his own. He released 4 studio albums, the most successful of which were Transformer in 1972 and Sally Can't Dance in 1974. Transformer, of course, probably contains his most recognized hit, Walk on the Wild Side. By the end of 1974, Lou Reed was kind of seen as a sellout because Sally Can't Dance was one of his more commercial efforts. He didn't have a lot to do with that album. It was more the record company that kind of fashioned that album and that approach. And so when Metal Machine Music was released in 1975, people didn't know how to take it. Now, if you're not familiar with what Metal Machine Music is, basically it's an hour and 3 minutes of nothing but modulated feedback and this abrasive guitar drone. An hour and 3 minutes. Yeah, it's subdivided into 4 parts, but I challenge even the most diehard Lou Reed fan to tell me what's the difference between part 1, 2, 3, and 4. The question for the ages is this Lou Reed giving the middle finger to his fan base, or was he legitimately trying to put forth a piece of art? Allegedly, he was inspired by Lamonte Young, who was known for putting out exactly the same kind of this droning industrial ambient music. but Lou Reed definitely takes it to the extreme with Metal Machine Music. One of the only albums where I can say I'd rather listen to Yoko Ono scream for an hour.
Are you happier as a schmuck?
And I'm sure there are Lou Reed fans out there who are going to tell you, I like this album, I appreciate this album for what it is, and I'm calling bullshit. There is no way anybody can listen to this for an hour and 3 minutes. And if you're such a big Lou Reed fan, if you love this album so much, here's a test for you, okay? I'm gonna play a small clip of Metal Machine Music. You tell me which part it is, 1, 2, 3, or 4. I challenge you in the comments section, tell me which part the following clip comes from. Now, a few episodes back, I did a dumpster deep dive on John and Yoko's wedding album. John and Yoko's wedding album sounds like Pet Sounds compared to Metal Machine Music. And I know, granted, this is low-hanging fruit. Like, it's certainly not controversial to say that Metal Machine Music is a piece of shit album. And Lou Reed didn't talk about the album that much. And when he did, at times he was like, no, it was a legitimate piece of art. And then the other times he was like, yeah, anybody who got to part 4 is pretty stupid.
Are you happier as a schmuck?
Personally, I come out on the side of Lou Reed was fucking with us. There is no way he could have seriously thought that any of his fans or any music fans, no fans of any genre, would put up with Metal Machine Music. But I'll give him this. Metal Machine Music is basically what you are hearing. It's abrasive. It's industrial. If you've never heard the album, but you've had an MRI, if you've been in that tube where you had the MRI, you've basically heard Metal Machine Music. That's basically it. So do I really want to go track by track? I can. So the album starts off with Metal Machine Music Part 1. It's a lot of industrial modulated noise. Track 2 is Metal Machine Music Part 2. It's a lot of industrial modulated noise. Track 3 is Metal Machine Music Part 3. It's a lot of industrial Can we just stop with this? I'm not going to play all 4 tracks. It is what it is. It's garbage. I think it's deliberately provocative. I think it wants people to be pissed off. And I think Lou Reed is a lot like the comedian Andy Kaufman, and that they deliberately tried to get a reaction out of people. But I also kind of resent the fact, I guess a little bit. I mean, what do I care? You know, if Metal Machine exists or doesn't exist, it doesn't affect me. But I'm just saying, from a reviewer's standpoint, from a critical standpoint, just the fact that Lou Reed was popular and famous enough that he could release an album of this. And there's a record company, RCA, would release an album of this noise. Is kind of the epitome of self-indulgence. It's such a narcissistic statement, but it is what it is. If you find it cool, I mean, and there's a little bit of me that's like, yeah, it's kind of cool. He put this out and people went out and bought it, took it home thinking it's going to be another Transformer or another Berlin, the album that he collaborated with David Bowie on. They put this on the turntable and they are like, what the fuck? Part of me, I actually kind of get a kick out of that. People bringing this home and playing it, listening to the first half hour of it, thinking, is this all it's going to be. And this was the 1970s. It's not even the 1990s where maybe you could have gotten away with something like this and they would have been like, well, it is the 1990s. So anyway, where do I come out? At the end of the day, it's like, you know what, Lou Reed, hats off to you for pulling what might be the biggest musical practical joke of all time. And as a practical joker myself, I have to say, I do kind of identify it, and I do a little bit respect him for that, but it's still a piece of garbage album. Yes, it is a piece of shit, but it's kind of a piece of shit that I do respect a little bit.
Are you happier as a schmuck?
So anyway, that's my dumpster dive. What do you think of the album? Are you a Lou Reed fan? Do you entirely disagree with this review? Do you feel it's a work of high art? And again, I accept your challenge. If you want to tell me, and again, you know, you've got a 25% chance of being right, but do you appreciate the album enough you can identify one part from another? Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this, and take care.
You don't stand a chance. You're going to dig your own grave.